Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge. Alrighty my friends, so today I'm going to be sharing with you 15 historical romances that are on my TBR. Now, this TBR, I literally mean it as the never-ending TBR that will never be finished because I'll die before then. But these are ones that I maybe want to prioritize more. I don't know. It's mostly, I want to share some of these that most of them are by authors I've already read and I'm just needing to pick up the next book. Also, some are from authors that I've never read. I actually think, wait, let me look here. There's three that are from authors I've never read. A lot of them are earlier books of authors I already love, you know, that kind of thing. But I wanted to show off some pretty books, read some descriptions, maybe get you thinking about them, maybe get you encouraging me to read some of these. You know, that always hypes me up when people are like, oh, you're gonna love that one. And I really dug on some of my shelves for these. So that's what we're gonna do. We are going to go through 15 books on my TBR, and we're actually going to end this video. The last two are going to be the ones that are going to be for Rake Appreciation Society, which is my historical romance book club with my friend Crystal from Crystal's Bookish Life. She's been reading a lot of historicals again lately, and I want to do that too. You know, I read our books for book club, and I'm so committed to so many other books for so many other subgenres that, you know, historical romances are usually a little bit quieter, usually a little bit more introspective. Not all the time. They take longer to build sometimes, you know what I mean? And that by no means makes them lesser. They're some of my absolute favorites as we like ruminate and just live in the romance and the, you know, anticipation is there. There's also some super spicy historicals that I've read, and I have a couple of those authors here, but there's just something about them. They're always going to be my first love, and I love sharing that with you. So many of you first found me through historical romance videos. You know, a few of my like favorite videos I made were when I did backlist reviews of, I did one for Julia Quinn, I did one for Lisa Kleypas. No, I didn't do Lisa Kleypas. I did Julia Quinn and Eloisa James. Those were some of my first authors that I read. And I just love doing that because those were books like I just organically wanted to read every book that they'd ever read. I didn't have a channel. I didn't have anyone who was listening to me. My mom didn't even really want to talk about the books that she read with me. My friends didn't read it. They were just because I read it for the sake of wanting the story for myself, you know? And that's something that I don't have the luxury of anymore because I've traded that luxury of that for recommending books to you guys, and I wouldn't go back at all. I mean, my life is completely different, but there is something about the magic of like, I just want to pick these up because it has a pretty cover, or I want to pick it up because it's by an author I already like, and there's no pressure to analyze it or convey what I'm feeling to other people. I just get to live it, you know, and I want to find as happy of a medium between those two as I can, because the plus side is when I read a book like that resonates, I can immediately get it to you guys and get you guys hyped and you guys reading it, and that, like I said, is a trade-off that I will take every day of the weekend, twice on Sundays, because I live to hype up books and share them with other people. But my point being, to get that inspiration and to feel that passionate, sometimes we just have to be able to frolic, as it were, through our bookshelves or through a bookstore to find ones where we're just like, oh, I'm excited. So anywho, I don't know how that relates to what I'm going to do, but we're going to go through these. I tried to not pick ones that were like not out yet, because the point is to kind of go off of ones I already own or have already been recommended by you guys. But I do have two at the top that are like really recent releases and or one that's coming out in this coming week, just because they are on my TBR to be read, and they have been on my TBR for a long time. So I was like, well, I'm going to put them on here. I have a cold brew with white raspberry in it right now, and it is so good. All right, so the ones that are those at the tippy top there. We have Io by S.M. LaViolette. So this is aka Minerva Spencer, aka just an author that I adore. The S.M. LaViolette is a lot of her like darker and or erotic historical romance titles. This one is more of just like the darker side, but not at the same time. I don't know. The books in the books that are in her Bellamy series, as well as the Hales in America, the Americans Take London or whatever, they have darker themes than maybe some, but the books in general don't feel that way. But anyway, this book is about the twin to Balthazar. Balthazar the Spare was the first book. This is Io the Shrew. And I did actually start the very beginning of this one. I actually pulled it up here because some of these we're going to read them if I don't have them. But this one is Io, and the Hales, they were actually raised in a commune for most of their life, and they recently found out that they have a Duke older brother, aka Zeus, who he was renamed his different name, but he, like, all of them are named after like Greek people and everything. It's great. And so that in that one, like, Balthazar is the Spare. The family gets brought over to London and is getting introduced into society, but they've grown up in a very free place, a communal living space. And there are also downsides to that too, which we saw in Balthazar, because like you weren't allowed to keep a person. Everyone belonged to everybody in that world. And so he's falling in love with a woman and he's not used to getting to keep someone for himself. So he's very like sexually awakened and very open and very like to the point, like there's so many great things about Balthazar, but he's never been able to like keep someone for himself. So anyway, that's Balthazar. Then we have Io, who things are going to be a bit more difficult for her because she's used to being independent, you know, like I'll just read what this says about her. And honestly, she's one of the few like blue stockings that I'm excited to read because of course it would feel weird to be yanked backwards when you've been able to have so much freedom with your body and with what you want to do. So about Io, it says, this is Lady Io's story. What happens when you cross a feisty, independent, condom distributing blue stocking with a bossy, proper, too attractive for his own good tyrant. More heat and excitement than a box of fireworks crossed with a bonfire. So that is literally like what she put. And again, I did start this one because this one came out a couple months ago now and I had pre-ordered it because again, love her books. But this one starts, in the case, it's one where like it starts showing them sleeping together and then it flashes back to like before they were together and they like hate each other then. And so I was just like not in the mood for that like angsty time. But the thing is like I've read so many books by this author now, and the type of angst that she does, yes, it hurts, but she also has characters that do communicate pretty damn well, so I know that they'll find their way out of it. But anyway, so this one's pretty high up on my TBR. I think there should be an audiobook for it soon, and that's also what I'm kind of holding out for, because this is her indie published books, but that means it takes a while for the audiobooks to come out, so I'm kind of waiting for that. So anyway, the other one that I actually have, I actually do have the arc for it, is Trail of Sunflowers by Tanya Fisher. Now, Tanya Fisher is an author that I just want more of you to try. She was debut with Letters to Dogwood, which I read 2 years ago. And then last year was Poppies and Silk, which I also loved. And then this one, Trail of Sunflowers, is the first one that I have an arc for it. It comes out this coming weekend, and this one is, I believe, a Friends to Lovers, and we were introduced to both of these. They're like the younger siblings of other characters before. This is a Western, but it's not written like Westerns you've seen before. There's usually, there's darker content in Westerns, but just, I don't know, there's just a feel about it. It has a small town feel. Again, there is a dark edge. Like book 2 dealt with human trafficking, or you know what I mean, the sex trafficking. And like, who stops that? You know, like who is able to stop that when there are no police or sheriffs or anything, and there are women being taken? Anyway, it was done so well. And it was actually a woman who, she was almost forced into prostitution herself, but was able, because she had skills of being a seamstress and a sewer, that she was able to like work instead of that. But those were the only two options that she had. It's crazy. So Trail of Sunflowers, it's going to be about Junior, and I can't remember the heroine's name, but they are both siblings of people from the other books. And I can't wait to read it, because in the last one, the girl, she had always been a tomboy, and she was just starting to want to wear dresses because her new sister-in-law is, a seamstress and has made her dresses that she really likes. So she was just starting to feel girly. So it's going to be that Friends to Lovers where, oh, he's noticing her as a girl now instead of the like tomboy that he used to tease and everything. And I'm like, I'm here for it. And then another one that's on my TBR that like I will be reading, like it is happening, is of course Heart in the Highlands by Heidi Kimball. And this is actually picked as my September Patreon book. So I will be doing an exclusive read of that and annotating it. And I can't wait, because the aforementioned Crystal, this is one of her favorite historicals. It is a closed door Highlander romance. It's a marriage of convenience as well as a second chance, and I know there's like a time jump in it, and it's very angsty, and there needs to be a grovel, and just it's a hero who wants revenge against his father, and in doing so he's hurting people in the current time, so I know it's gonna be very angsty, but I've heard nothing but glowing thoughts about it. And if there's any type of book that I'm willing for a like closed door scenario, it's a historical, especially one that I know will still give me the romance that I want, that will give me the deep aching longing, like the chemistry still be there. Like if all of that is still there, well, guess what? I have a good imagination. I'll just imagine the things. You know what I mean? So it's not the most important thing, but it is a thing that strangely, like, it gives me pause sometimes, because I just am a girl who likes payoff. But I'm telling you, I'm not scared or, annoyed to be reading this. I am just so intrigued, and I'm glad that I'm going to be kind of pushed to read it, just because, as I said, sometimes it's difficult for me to get to these, So then let's go through some, because now I have a stack in front of me here. So there is Mr. Impossible by Loretta Chase. I am so looking forward to this one, because I know Jessin from Jessin Reads Romance loved this. I think I've actually seen Jess from Peace Love Books read this quite a while ago, and it was kind of explained as like the mummy in a historical romance, and I'm like here for it. And when Jessin read it, she described a lot of it to me too, and I'm just here for it. I love the mummy, Brendan Fraser. Yeah, I'm here for it. But this one is about Rupert Carsington, who's the fourth son of an earl, and he is his family disaster. He's irresistible, masculine, and reckless, and wherever he goes, trouble follows. Still, Rupert's never met an entanglement, emotional or otherwise, that he couldn't escape until now. Now he's in Egypt, stranded in the depth of Cairo's most infamous prison, and his only way out is to accept a beautiful widow's dangerous proposal. Scholar Daphne Pembroke wants him to rescue her brother, who's been kidnapped by a rival seeking a fabled treasure. Their partnership is strictly business. She'll provide the brains, he the brawn. Simple enough in theory. Blame it on the sun or the blazing desert heat, but as tensions flare and inhibitions melt, the most disciplined of women and the most reckless of men are about to clash in the most impossibly irresistible way. And I mean, this one isn't super long. I want to get the audiobook for it, but I very much, this is high on my list of ones that I will get to. And another one of those, which this one actually got just re-released with a new cover and like all the jazz. But I do really love this simple cover for it. Hold on. Let me make sure I'm getting to the important ones. Okay, there is actually A Matter of Class by Mary Belloc. So this is not quite a novella. It's longer. Well, actually, no, it is a novel. And there's actually like a Q&A and like study questions in the back of this one. But I first heard of this one. I've been reading Mary Belloc for 10 years or so. I really have. I adore her. And I have not read her whole backlist by any means, but I've read a good amount of her books. And I didn't really pay attention to this one because from what I could tell, it's, I believe, like a standalone on its own. And it was novella length, and so I just wasn't interested. But a few years ago, and this has stuck with me, there was an episode of Fated Mates podcast, which is by Sarah McLean. and her co-host, and they did a whole episode on a matter of class. And I mean, of course, it spoiled a lot of it to listen, but it made me interested because I want to experience it. And so what this one is about, we'll just read it here. So there's Reginald Mason. He's wealthy, refined, and by all accounts a gentleman. However, he's not a gentleman by birth, a factor that pains him and his father, Bernard Mason, within the Regency society that upholds station over all else. That is until an opportunity for social advancement arises, namely Lady Annabel Ashton, daughter of Earl of Havercroft, a neighbor and enemy of the Mason family. Annabel finds herself disgraced by a scandal, besmirched by shame. The Earl is only too happy to marry Annabel off to anyone willing to have her. Though Bernard wishes to use Annabel to propel his family up the social ladder, his son does not wish to marry her, preferring instead to live the wild, single life he's accustomed to. With this, Bernard serves his son an ultimatum: marry Annabel or make do without family funds. Having no choice, Reginald consents and enters into a hostile engagement in which the prospective bride and groom are openly antagonistic, each one resenting the other for their current state of affairs. And so begins an intoxicating tale rife with dark secrets, deception, and the trials of love. A story in which very little is as it seems. So, actually, the whole reason I picked it up is because I heard what the spoiler is. I'm not going to tell you the spoiler because, you know, maybe that was enough for you to want to read it. But my point is that I've read a lot of Mary Ballag. I love her prose. I love her stories. I love her characters. They get under my skin in an amazing way. And so when they were doing an episode on this, I was like, oh, why are they doing it on, you know, not one of the, like, Bedouins or the Survivors Club or one of those? And when I heard, like, what happens in this book, I was like, I have to experience it for myself. That's why I'm someone who doesn't mind spoilers. I think I've shared this. Like, I used to listen to their book clubs all the time, and it would convince me to read things so I could experience it for myself. I listened to their episodes on Immortals After Dark multiple times before I ever read the books myself, and then I would listen to their podcast again afterwards. So, used to love that. But anyway, A Matter of Class, I mean, I really just need to read it because it's under 200 pages, and I feel like I could just get through it really fast. So I'll have to do that eventually, right? Okay, now we have... Oh, let's share this one first, because then I have a bunch that are all by authors I've already read, but we'll do this one. There's Untouched by Anna Campbell, who I have not read an Anna Campbell. I don't think so. I would have to actually double check, because for some reason I had Candace Camp in my mind when I was looking at this cover, but it says Anna Campbell. So I do have this on my TBR possibly for the readathon next month, because it is listed as like a gothic, I think it's like a gothic Beauty and the Beast type, but either way, gothic prompts work for our readathon. And this one is one I should look up. Hold on. Here we go. This one, it has a quick one. It says, I am many things, Lord Sheen said. Kind is not one of them. Beautiful Grace Paget has no reason not to believe these words. After all, she was kidnapped, spirited away to a remote country manor, and told she is to grant this man's every desire or lose her life. But Grace is no common trollop, so she risks everything to save her virtue by planning a daring escape. Even though she finds herself tempted by this handsome man, there is something in his eyes that make her wonder if he is as dangerous as he would have her believe. She knew nothing of the plan to bring him this woman. Locked up as a prisoner, called mad by all of the world, he will do anything to reclaim his life, and Grace's sensuous beauty has distracted him from his goals. And although he finds her irresistible, he is horrified to hold her against her will. Now, together, they must both revolt against this strange set of circumstances that have forced them together. But only will Grace truly, for only then will Grace truly surrender to him forever. So yeah, from this cover, from that, she gets kidnapped, taken to a manor where they're both being held captive, but also she's supposed to see to his whims. So I don't know what this means. Maybe they need an heir from him. Like, I haven't looked up anything. I'm like, do they need an heir from him? And he refuses to give them one. So they're like, give him a sexy lady, get her pregnant, and they'll have an heir. I don't know. Literally haven't read it. And don't tell me if you have or not. But I plan to read this one next month if all goes well. I think it has an audiobook too. So if I read that for the readathon, it'll get us some good points. So, okay, so there's that one. Okay, now, like I said, I have another one that's by an author I haven't read yet. I should stop jumping the gun. So I have another author I haven't read yet, and this is actually a series that I have both of the books in this series. And I was gifted these ages ago because they're fucking beautiful, okay? But I have not gotten around to it, and I think that it's time. So look at this book. Look at how pretty it is. There's this book and one other in the series, but like, oh, this almost looks like Emma Watson, doesn't it? Almost. So this is book 1 in the Sweetness and Light series, and this is what it says. Bonnie Reed is beautiful inside and out. A loyal friend and loving daughter, she's newly engaged to her small town's most eligible bachelor. She's happy for herself, but mostly for her family, who need the security her marriage will bring. An old enemy shatters her illusion. First, Baron Lowell cost Bonnie's family her fortune. Now he's insisting that her fiancé has hidden flaws, secrets so dark that if she believed him, she'd have to call off the wedding. How will she choose? When the truth comes out, Bonnie will have to choose between doing what's right and what's easy, between her family and her best friend, and hardest of all, between her honor and the love of a man who everyone wants her to hate. So, yeah, this was gifted to me ages ago, and yeah, I'm super intrigued by this one. And that, like, when did I get this? Yeah, 2022, January 2022. So yeah, 2+ years ago. So I want to get around to that one. I should look and see if it's an audiobook. I don't think it has one because this was an indie author, but it's beautiful. Okay, now there is actually Fern by Lee Greenwood. Okay, these covers, very much old school. This is actually a male historical romance author. He writes westerns mostly, but they aren't like Louis L'Amour westerns. They are typical romance. So I've only read the first book in this series, which was Rose, but this is about 7 brothers. So it's basically like 7 brothers who won the West and the woman who tamed their hearts. So Rose was actually really good. The heroine, she ended up, oh shoot, I don't remember if they were married and she was there or if she was staying them and she was there, but he has 7 brothers. Not all of them are still living at home, but they need a woman to help like raise them and be there. So I believe she's supposed to straight up be like a marriage of convenience type wife or anything. But I really enjoyed Rose. I read that, I believe, for a vlog where I read, was that the one I did that? I don't know, but I believe Rose came out the year I was born. So I think I read it for one of those. I don't know. I should check. When did this one come out? Yeah, that one came out in 1993. This one came out in 1994. So this one I had actually, like, I was going to start it, and I just, you know, it takes a lot to read a 430-page old school historical, and there, you know, it definitely has some of the flaws of those, but there also was a lot of good adventure, and I really loved the brothers in Rose and how they were falling for her, and just how, like, I enjoyed that one. So this one, I believe, is with one of the brothers who isn't still at home. He had like left to like get away. I think their family, his father was like a shamed general from the Civil War, or not a general, but like something like that. And so they were, what's it called? They were disgraced, basically. So this one says, worlds apart, hearts together. A man of taste and culture, James Madison Randolph enjoyed the refined pleasures of life in Boston. It had been years since the suave lawyer abandoned the Randolph's ramshackle ranch. All right, sir, the alliteration's a bit much. And the dark secrets that haunted him there. Forced to return to the hated frontier when his brother was falsely accused of murder, he still had no use for anything it had to offer. Not the backbreaking work, not the barren wastelands, and especially not the sharp-tongued vixen who wanted to gun down his entire family. Woo! As tough as any cowhand in Kansas, Fern Sproul would see her cousin's killer hang for his crime, and no smooth-talking city slicker would stop her from seeing justice done. But one look at Madison Randolph awakened her desire, I can't talk, awakened her tender longing to taste heaven in his kiss. While the townsfolk of Abilene prepared for the trial of the century, Madison and Fern readied themselves for a knockdown, drag-out battle of the sexes that just might have two winners. There we go. It does sound fun. I remember I wanted to read this because, yeah, I believe there are like 2 of the 7 brothers who aren't at home now, and so it was the oldest one with the younger ones and everything. And yeah, I remember that one, they were kind of bitter that he had never come back, but he went and became a lawyer, and he was, I think, hiding from the shame of his dad and all that stuff. So I do want to continue with those. All right, then there's actually Dark Warrior by Donna Fletcher. Now, Donna Fletcher is the one who has the infamous, beautiful, beautiful book that I bought, and a lot of us did, that was bound to the Highlander. And it was were both kidnapped, they're shackled together, and they have to try to escape, almost naked. They have to try to like escape back to his family and everything. I love that series so much. And I've read that series and then another series, and I own quite a few of her books, but I never got around to, this one is a duet. I think it's like the Warrior duet or something like that. And then she actually, okay, this woman has been writing a book a year since like 1985, from what I could see. Because I was trying to find, I want to find the first book by her. Well, I don't own the first book by her. I thought that I did, because she goes back way even further, and she's still writing to this day. Donna Fletcher has a book coming out. I did not know this. She has Highlander books coming out still to this day. So I only found that out just right before I filmed this, when I was deciding which of her books to pick off my shelf. So this is the first in a duet. She actually has a few duets. There's one that there's twins in a duet, and like I want to read it. So this one's hard to see because this one is a shiny one. It's not matte, but like look at the band, look at her dress, look at this. Dark Warrior. This is what this one's about. He is her salvation, her lover, her destiny. Mary waits trembling in the darkness, the prisoner of a fearsome tormentor who would have her at any cost. Then a mysterious, cloaked figure appears at her dungeon door. A champion has come to free the beautiful lass and carry her off to safety, with arms as powerful and sure as the trees of the forest. Oh my. Oh my. He calls himself Michael, the Dark One. Oh my. Though he must keep his face hidden from her, Mary is captivated by his strength and kindness, and irresistibly drawn by his masculine fire toward a most willing and sensuous surrender. But the warrior who once held her captive will stop at nothing to reclaim his prize, and if Mary does not return to him, many innocents will die. Yet how will she survive if she's forced to abandon the most passionate love she has ever known? Oh, that sounds good. That sounds good, everybody. Wow. Okay, this one was written in 2004. It's 20 years old. Oh, wow. That sounds amazing. I just got like chills reading that. Okay, I know I did a dramatic reading. I was going to see what year this one is. I think these are medieval. Oh, this one doesn't say. It says she writes medieval Highlander romance, though. But it doesn't say a year in these. But the other ones were medieval, so that makes sense. So, wow, I really want to read that one now. That sounds great. I, of course, had to have one from the Queen, LK, of course, Lisa Kleypas. And this one I actually have Because You're Mine. This is book 2 in the Capitol Theater duet. I have read the first one because that one had an audiobook. Now, I don't believe there is an audiobook for the second one in the series. But I'm very intrigued to read this because the hero is kind of an asshole in the first one, and LK really does shine with her alpha hole heroes for sure. And I also love that he's an actor, and he's a little bit like, I don't know, he's a little bit naughty for sure. But yeah, I liked the first one, though it was not my favorite by any means because the characters had me wanting to slap them around just a little bit wanting to slap them. You know, I can't help myself, but I still like the story was still really good. I just didn't love what some of the characters did, right? Which we won't always. So anyway, this is Because You're Mine. And this one is young, high-spirited Lady Madeline Matthews is expected to wed an aging, lecherous lord, but she would rather shame herself in the eyes of society than sacrifice her freedom, and resolves to render herself unmarriageable by indulging in a torrid affair with Britain's most acclaimed actor and notorious womanizer, Logan Scott. He is a legend in the footlights and in the bedchamber, but when the curtain falls, Logan is an intensely private, guarded man still tormented by past betrayals and cut deep into his pride and his heart. Now a forward little minx who seems completely out of place in the bright, sophisticated world of London's stage is disrupting his orderly existence. With her constant presence, her unspoiled beauty and vibrant charm, and what begins as an on-stage kiss threatens to blossom into something more rapturous and real. But first, Logan and Madeline both must be brave enough to drop the mask they hide behind and reveal their true selves in the golden, glorious light of love. There we go. Sorry, someone pulled up here, which of course they're allowed. It's their parking lot, but just where they are, it bounces the light in my face. So sorry for my dramatics, but that always irritates me. So that's the LK I want to read. I only have, besides the first 2 books are out of print, which I don't own. And also, I'm not actually that interested in reading those ones. I'm just not. I don't really care for Southern romances that are written in that time period. I just don't. Unless it's Beverly Jenkins, I'm not really interested. But anyway, I only have like 5 of her books I haven't read. And that's one of them. But I do want to read that. And Logan in the first one was such a dick. But he also is like the one behind the theater company and everything that he does. And that's pretty cool. For sure. Okay. Then from one of the other queens, we have A Rogue in Texas by Lorraine Heath. Now, there are quite a few Lorraine Heaths that I haven't read. And I do own almost all of hers. I'm only missing 3 of them that are historicals, and only a couple of them that are her contemporaries either. And I have read her Texas trilogy, plus the novella at the end. I've read those, but I haven't read any of her other, cowboy ones. So this ended up being, I have quite a few of those in here, but this one says this. A duke's son, Grayson Rhodes, was a maverick who left London's suffocating upper-class world to earn his own fortune. So he seized the chance to work Abby Westland's land, and from the moment he first saw Abby, he was determined to use his arms to work the farm by day and to soothe her through the nights in his strong embrace. My Grayson, you are quite forward, sir. Abby, with her fiery determination, was different from the fragile beauties he'd known at home. Oh, so she's not like other girls, is that right? In her, Grayson found an honest passion he never experienced before. But could their growing love survive the surprising reminder of her past that comes to haunt them? So, A Rogue in Texas is the Lorraine Heath. We have Devil of the High Seas by Lauren Smith. So, I actually wanted to check if the audiobook was out yet, because this is book 3 in the Pirates of King's Landing. Okay, this one does not have its audiobook yet. She's an indie published historical author, so they do take a while. But I know with book 2, which was In Like Flynn, I waited for the audiobook, and it was dual narrated historical, which is like, there aren't a ton of authors who do that. Usually they just hire one or the other. Scarlett Scott does it. A few others do. But love this series. Love these covers that she's still doing. And yeah, they're pirates. So this one says, she becomes a wicked pirate lord's stolen treasure. On the eve of her wedding, oh, I'm excited already. Josephine Greyville is kidnapped by a true devil of the high seas, a pirate. Gavin Castleton isn't just any pirate. He's the twin brother of the man she's supposed to marry. Tempted by Gavin's kisses and the first taste of freedom she's ever had in her life, Josephine discovers she could lose all that she's come to hold dear. She must choose between her family and a storm of passion filling her heart. Gavin Castleton nearly dies after losing his ship in a mutiny and is forced to return to his beloved family estate in Cornwall to heal and make a plan for revenge. Stumbling through a secret entrance of his home where he hopes to find his twin brother, he collapses at the bedside of the most beautiful woman he's ever seen. After she tends to his wounds, he learns she's to marry his brother. Unable to repay her kindness with anything other than desire, he kidnaps her to keep her from marrying his brother. Wicked through and through, Gavin can't resist taking the treasure of Josephine's heart, even if it means losing all he holds dear. So, I really enjoy Lauren Smith. I've read one in a different series from her, but otherwise I've read mostly these. She's also Emma Castle, who I always bring this up. She's written some like dark and dystopian books as well, which I really like. Okay, then we have, let me see, we got to that one. We did that one. We did that one. There is A Contracted Spouse for the Prize Fighter by Alice Goldbreath. So this is pretty straightforward. I received the 3 books in this trilogy as a gift from one of my lovely patrons and friends. And I've listened to the first 2 books. The first book was just okay. The second book was wonderful. And I can't wait to get to this one too. These are the Victorian Prize Fighter series. I actually have some little art prints that the author sends with it. This one says, Miss Dora Danby as Piccadilly Percy, accompanied by Miss Lillian Longden. Exclusive at the Eagle and Sun in Shoreditch. There's these cute little like posters that came with each book, which is great. So this one is book 3, and it says, Theodora knows in her heart that she has star quality, but sadly no one else in her theatrical family feels the same. When her sister leaves to get married, Theo is promptly axed from the bill and expected to take a back seat in the family business. Clem Danby, aspiring theater owner and ex-prize fighter, has built up his supper and song business as far as he can take it. In order to expand, he now needs a theater. When Theodora appears before him with her outrageous proposition, he sees his chance and devil take the consequences. Their marriage is purely a business arrangement, so Theo is not worried about Clem's reputation, and Clem is not concerned about Theo's distinct lack of feminine charm. Now that's all settled and out of the way, both agree things should be straightforward enough. Why then is Clem acting the jealous husband when Theo finds herself among a throng of new admirers? So one thing I do really love about this series, besides just like, really good longing and angst in these, is that each one is barely connected to each other. Like one takes place at an inn, and I mean, each one of these is like a marriage of convenience or an arranged marriage. One takes place at like an inn, and there's like a backdoor prize fighting happening. The second one takes place on a traveling fair, and they like share a small like wagon when they travel. And then this one is going to take place in a theater. So you can read any one of those that interests you, and there's only brief mentions of other characters in here. Like they all exist in the same world. They were all prize fighters, so they know each other that way. But they're not like, it's not like when you read it and it's this person's sister and you know they're going to get the next book. So you can really jump in wherever you want. And I do highly, highly recommend The Substitute Bride for the Prize Fighter. Like if you're going to read any of them, read that. It's fantastic. Okay, now we get all the way through all of those ones, and the last 2 on here are, as I said, the books for our book club, which we don't have a date picked yet because the way we're doing this is a bit more relaxed than we've done book clubs before. But we have 2 books that, we each picked one, and we are going to get these read, and then when we get to November we'll announce the book club. So it's a quarterly book club currently, once a season. So this is going to be the autumn session, and the books we picked for these are, the one that Crystal picked was A Class Apart by Susie Murphy. Never heard of this author before, but it sounds amazing. So this one says, society said they shouldn't fall in love. It's 1828, and Ireland is in turmoil as Irish tenants protest against their upper-class English landlords. 19-year-old Bridget Muldowney is thrilled to learn the estate in Carlow she'll inherit when she comes of age, but since she left for Dublin 7 years earlier, the tomboy has become a refined young woman, engaged to be married to a dashing English gentleman. Cormac McGovern, now a stable hand on the estate, has missed his childhood friend. He and Bridget had once been thick as thieves, running wild around the countryside together. When Bridget and Cormac meet again, their friendship begins to rekindle, but it's different now that they are adults. Bridget's overbearing mother, determined to enforce the employer-servant boundaries, conspires with Bridget's fiancé to keep the pair apart. With the odds stacked against them, can Bridget and Cormac's childhood attachment blossom into something more? So this is said that is very much for lovers of like Downton Abbey and stuff like that. This also appears to be a continuing series, so I don't know whether that means they won't have an HEA in this one and we'll have to continue it, or if we're going to be introduced to like other love stories, because it says this is the first book in her historical fiction series. The story continues in the second book. So I don't know if it's, we're going to be introduced to all the other characters and it's like you need to read it in order because whatever, or if they won't have an HEA in this one. I do not know. I haven't looked at any reviews to even peek because I don't want to know that. But either way, I'm okay with that because it appears they're like out, like other books in that. Let me just go check. I think the other books are out. Yeah. Oh yeah. There's 4 books out. So even if the story like is continuing, the books are out, so we'll be able to read them if they want to. And then the book that I picked, this is one that's been recommended by you guys before, and so I actually already owned it on my shelf. And just for me, myself, and I, the books I've been trying to pick for our book club are ones that I already own them, and they're ones that people have recommended a lot, but I just haven't had the motivation to read on my own. Like, I've put this book on so many TBRs, and I haven't got around to it. So now I'm going to fucking read it because we're doing it for book club. And that is All Through the Night by Connie Brockway. Yes, I have an ex-library copy, so it's a little bit wonky, but listen to what this one's about. In the glittering world of Regency, England, Anne Wilder plays a dangerous game. A widowed lady by day, by night she becomes a masked thief preying on society's elite. She roves high above London's black rooftops, compelled by phantoms from her past to take even greater risks, until her restless spirit led her into Colonel Jack Seward's trap, where seduction may be her only way out. She'd played him for a fool, taking advantage of his hungry response to escape from his clutches. But as Jack hunts for the thief, his heart falls captive to a self-possessed widow. Torn between illicit passion and tender love, Jack is duty-bound to capture the audacious criminal, even if it means ripping society apart to do so. Now, he stalked her through the ton, never realizing the lovely widow who captured his heart was the same woman who roused his most violent passions. So cool. And I love it because it's like a reverse, you know, it's a reverse of what's usually the man with like 2 personas. It's the woman doing it, and it sounds great. So there you go. Those are 15 books that are on my historical romance TBR. Again, I don't have an end state for these. These are just ones I'm wanting to get to. I'm going to try to put them on other TBRs coming forward. Some of them I know for positive I will be reading, and other ones I could use your encouragement to get to. So let me know. I'll have links to all of these books that are available down below. So if you want to snag one and read it along with me, definitely check that out. Also, please go follow Crystal's Bookish Life, my bookish bestie, and also my co-host for the readathon. She does much more historical romance content lately than I've been able to do, and she really inspires me in that way so much. So thank you all for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment for engagement on this channel. Leave me some hearts down below if you think of it. Love it. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye.